I see, Mr. Strange. You have a channel with all sorts of horror stories. And as I see, one of the psychiatrists or psychotherapists contacts you personally and writes his, well, if not memoirs, then certainly some kind of personal confession. Anyway, I'm writing a letter to you too. Before you click the mark as spam button, I'll quickly introduce myself. My name is Mikhail. I am 26, and I will be 27 in August. I live. However, for security reasons, I will probably refrain from mentioning my place of residence. I will only say that it is in the south of Russia, in the Astrakhan region. What's unique about my story? Well, it's that I decided to get a job at an order pickup point. I won't tell you which one either, because I don't want publicity, and I don't want to be sued. Because management tries hard to hide such things. I've been working at my point for 6 months now. The job is not dusty. You sit, give out orders, take orders. You also watch that people don't steal anything on purpose or, on the contrary, don't spoil it. Sometimes you stare at the beautiful girls who come for orders, and that's it. Then you go home, cook dinner, and go to bed. I work from 10 WAM to 21 SAO, 2 on, 2 off. Well, it would seem, what could go wrong in such a boring job? That's right. Everything. Believe it or not. But I literally began to feel the heavy energy emanating from various parcels and goods. My mother was right when she told me, don't pick up someone else's things from the floor. The one who dropped them might have had bad intentions. And you're happy to pick them up and take all the evil onto yourself. It works about the same with parcels, but not in the sense that I wanted to steal something from my work, God forbid. Objects are simply, let's say, they can be very unfriendly. To help you and your viewers better understand what I'm talking about, let me give you a few examples. But, a little backstory, where would we be without it, right? It's worth mentioning that I was hired as a staff member instead of another guy. When I asked where he had gone and if I should call him, he suddenly started drinking. I was told that their employee had fallen, unexpectedly for everyone, into a coma. Although nothing foreshadowed it because Sasha, that was his name, was an athlete and did sports every morning. No investigation was conducted. But when my probation period ended, I got access to the surveillance cameras. What do you think? Of course, I found this Sasha and found the day when his misfortune happened to him. Of course, I can't say that it was easy and simple because there were just a ton of recordings. Still, I managed to do it. Looking through the entry for February 2nd, 2025, I found Sasha putting parcels on the shelves. Then he picked up one of them and froze. Just froze, rooted to the spot, like a tin soldier. Needless to say, this made me wary? And damn how. By the way, I still don't understand what kind of package had such an effect on him. But I had no doubt that it was a cursed object. Of course, I don't really believe in ghosts. But here, there was a different force of influence here. I didn't ask about this Sasha, and I tried to forget what I saw. Well, because what business is it of mine? I don't know him. I just came to work, it turns out. And sticking my nose in where I'm not wanted is more trouble than it's worth. If only you knew how wrong I was to think that something like this would never happen to me. So, a month ago, I was sitting at work as usual. In the morning, and this always happens in the morning, new parcels were delivered. I started unloading them and putting them on the shelves. They were all packed, and not all of them had written on them what exactly had arrived to whom. In general, the usual routine. My phone rang. It was the boss, Olga Sergeyevna. She was a plump, strict, but fair middle-aged woman. Are you at work? She asked me in a slightly lisping voice. Yes, Olga Sergeyevna. Here, I'm unpacking the parcels. Did something happen? Vika won't go to work tomorrow. Can you go instead of her? Oops, here comes the overtime. On the other hand, there's nothing else to do. Can I refuse? I thought. And answered, if necessity demands it, then let me go out. And what happened to Vika? Some health problems. She called a couple of minutes ago and was trying to explain something incoherently. I assumed she was feeling unwell and was sick, so I gave her 2 shifts off. Oleg will replace her the day after tomorrow. Too bad. I see. Well, okay. Don't worry. I'll go out tomorrow. I'm glad I can rely on you, Mish. Have a good shift. And she hung up. That's how I got let down, although I had plans for my day off. I wanted to go on a date somehow. And I just happened to meet a suitable girl. Eh? That's always the case. Tell God about your plans, that's what it's called. I had Victoria's number. I couldn't think of anything better than to write to her on Telegram and ask how she was feeling. The dialogue turned out to be quite strange. Vika, hi. It's Misha from work. The boss called and said you're not feeling well. How are you? Misha? Oh, thank God. You're alive. Well, yes, I'm alive. Why shouldn't I be alive? With this job, God, you have no idea how scared I am right now. It's everywhere. It's whispering in my ear, touching my hair. Wherever I am. What are you talking about, Vic? The creature. The creature whispers in my ear that I am his and no one else's, that my soul will soon leave my body. Do you believe me, Mish? This is not the ravings of a mad woman, and not a drug trip. I believe you, Vika, although I didn't believe you. I think she realized from my hesitant answer that I was lying. You don't believe it. Haha. You don't believe it either, Misha. No one believes it. Even I'm starting to not believe in what's happening. But it is. Lord, it is. Then she started scribbling some incomprehensible letters and symbols. It looked something like this. Avapiapash Palap. BPL Babi Lab LDD Walk Bsht L. Creepy, right? But it seemed to me then that she really had some kind of drunken, or even worse, material delirium. I didn't write to her anymore. Besides, clients started coming. Someone got coffee. Someone ordered imported chicory. A couple of times 14-year-olds came in, looking all of 18 for electronic cigarettes. But my brilliant eye is not so easy to fool. After demanding to show an ID, they quickly disappeared, saying that they forgot their documents at home and would come back later. Little by little, all the parcels that were brought in the morning were taken apart by the people. By the end of the shift, there were 2 to 3 left in the warehouse. But I didn't expect them to be picked up right away. It happens that customers pick up orders either on the last day before the expiration of the storage period or 2 or 3 days before. So I wasn't particularly worried about it. It is what it is. Having turned off all the lights and locked the room with a key, I headed home. I turned on my favorite Yasvina Weightless Man in my headphones and wandered to my abode. Fortunately, I didn't live that far away. While I was walking, I decided to visit Vika again and wrote to her. After all, she was a very beautiful and charming girl. I liked her. Hello, how are you? The message was read immediately, but there was no response. I tried again. Are you okay? And again the message was read. This made me wary. I tried to call her. The beeps came, but no one answered. I immediately dialed Olga Sergeyevna. At least someone answered me. Olga Sergeyevna, I ask you to forgive me for calling at such a late hour. Do you know where Vika lives? She doesn't answer and doesn't pick up the phone. Oh, Mish, she's probably drunk again. I called her today and she told me all sorts of nonsense. Olga Sergeyevna, please. Okay, I don't have the right, but it's really worth visiting her. Pushkin Street, 66, apartment 6. Write later, please. Received. Thank you. I immediately entered the address into the navigator. I was extremely lucky. She lived not far from our work. Taking my legs in my hands, I ran as fast as I could to her. Having reached the entrance, I was lucky again because it was open. I went up to her floor and started knocking on the door. Vika, open up. Vika. But no one opened the door for me. The tension inside was growing. I felt that something bad had happened. Opening my phone, I dialed the number of our local police officer. Hello? Alexei Petrovich? This is Misha. Misha Savaliev. Yes, Larisa Savalieva's son. There's a girl living here at 66 Pushkin Street. I'm at her door. She's not opening it. Something's clearly happened to her. Oh, have you seen the time? Alexei Petrovich, I don't care about the time. I almost lost my voice at this man. Call the Ministry of Emergency Situations. They'll obviously have to break down the door. It's metal. Okay. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Wait, 15 minutes was a long wait. I generally don't like waiting. It always makes me nervous. I was also very worried about Vika. I didn't want to even think that something bad could happen to her. Although, considering our morning correspondence, all this did not give me peace of mind. Alexei Petrovich arrived 5 minutes late. Another 10 minutes later, a UAZ with the Emergencies Ministry personnel arrived. I was surprised by such efficiency. Usually our services are accused of various sins and delays, but this was just wonderful. The guys fished a sledgehammer out of the car and after a couple of blows broke the lock. The door opened. First, Alexei Petrovich came inside. Then a couple of Emergencies Ministry officers. A minute later, Alexei Petrovich asked me to come in. "Is this Vika, Mish?" he asked me. I walked into the room and my heart sank. Yes, it was Vika. Light brown hair, dimples on her cheeks, thin, beautiful, and, unfortunately, dead. She hanged herself from the chandelier. I leaned against the wall from the shock of what I saw. When I became lower than her, I saw that she was holding a phone in her hand, with the screen on. Our dialogue was open. There was something written in the message window, but I couldn't see it. Then I went up to Alexei Petrovich and said to him, "Alexei, there's something written on her phone. Maybe that's the key to figuring out why she did this all of a sudden." Good observation. Now, he took a glove from his pocket and carefully pulled the phone out of her dead fingers. When he raised it up, we could read what was written. "My life is now in his hands. My soul is now his. My existence is now over. Forgive me." You don't know who she's talking about? Maybe an ex? "Forgive me, I don't know her well." I knew. In the morning she asked for time off from work, saying that she wasn't feeling well. And when she corresponded with her, she behaved strangely, as if someone was stalking her. All stalked? Yes, I began to stutter traitorously. After all, this is the first time I saw a dead person, and a hanged one at that. And the one I really liked. If you look at the table, you can see vodka. My conclusion is that it was suicide due to some kind of unrequited love, Alexei Petrovich stated categorically, and began filling out the report. "Guys, call the hearse. We have nothing else to do here." "They've already called, Alexei. But it's generally sad that the girl committed suicide. She's beautiful, damn it." No one answered this short guy. Everyone was in a bad mood. I left the apartment and slowly walked downstairs, pushing my way through the crowd of neighboring onlookers. The mood was absolutely terrible, if not to say that it was completely absent. At that time, it did not even occur to me how to explain all this to Olga Sergeyevna. But there was nothing to be done. I promised that I would report the news. "Well, what did you manage to find out?" she asked me, immediately picking up the phone. "Olga Sergeyevna, here's the thing. Basically, Vika is no more. She... Here emotions began to overwhelm me and I burst into tears. To give this woman credit, she waited patiently. In short, she hanged herself. Her last message was addressed to me, but it also seemed like it wasn't addressed to me. It was some kind of nonsense. I see. Were there bottles of alcohol in the room? There were, but she really did it, the fool. After her mother died, she had problems with alcohol. I knew it, and I still hired her, hoping that she would cope with her inner demons. As you can see, she didn't. Anyway, she has no relatives. The state will bury her on the outskirts of the cemetery. I'll find out the date and tell the others. If anyone wants to come, they will. No, so no, and she hung up. Everyone so cleverly blames her death on alcohol, but no one can seriously listen to her words. And isn't it strange that already the second employee gets into some kind of misfortune? True, this time to death. After working my next shift, nothing unusual happened. Same packages, same clients. Vika's funeral is in a couple of days. Olga Sergeyevna told me in the morning that everyone would go, even she. Everyone loved Vika. Sasha, by the way. But, in his case, at least he was still alive. But Victoria was already somewhere out there, in the next world. On the day of the funeral, the weather was sunny. The priest from the nearest church read a prayer for the repose of Victoria, and then gave the floor to those who wanted to speak. Olga Sergeyevna was the first to come out. It's sad that it happened this way, Vika. You were almost like a daughter to me, the one I always wanted, but who never came into my life. I hope that up there you'll meet your mother and tell her that you lived your life with dignity. It's really bad that you left without saying goodbye." And then she scooped up a handful of earth and threw it down onto the wooden coffin. Oleg came out next. Incidentally, it was the first time I saw him. We hadn't crossed paths before. He was a young man of 25. Red hair, almost 2 meters tall, freckles. He scooped up a handful of earth and couldn't find the words for a long time. And then he finally began to speak in his bass voice. Vika was the sun for me. You could say, the light at the end of the tunnel. She was a very kind, bright, and incredibly sensitive girl. I remember I once had a big fight with my younger sister, and Vika found the right words, put everything in its place for me, and gave me the advice that I needed so much. I made peace with my sister. As a token of gratitude, I gave Vika a box of chocolates, which she enjoyed as if she were a little girl. I will never forget her smile. I will also miss her laughter and ringing voice. Rest in peace, princess, beyond the light. Thank you for everything. And he threw a handful of earth down. No one else came out. I was one of them. Well, what could I say, Mr. Strange? I think that when Vika had already passed away, she still noticed that I had found her. Whether that made her feel better, I don't know. Did that make me feel better? Yes, to some extent. After the funeral, everyone went home. I returned there too. My cat Viscount was waiting for me in the apartment. I called him Vikusha for short. It was funny, by the way. His name sounded like Vika, and every time I called him to me, I thought of her. Since Vika's death, it has become somehow more stuffy at work. I think I was not the only one who felt this. In general, the energy of the place has changed. And it wouldn't have changed, right? When two misfortunes had already befallen our workplace. Besides, no one knew the reasons for what was happening. But I wanted to figure it out. Something was bothering me, but I couldn't figure out what it was. So I decided to turn to the surveillance cameras again and find a day when Vika was alive and well and working. After some time, I found her shift. It was May 10th. Vika was sitting at the counter reading something on her phone. Then the courier arrived and unloaded the packages in the lobby. Vika started to put everything on the shelves. But nothing unusual happened to her. I wanted to give up on this idea because my main guess that it was a parcel from the newly delivered ones went into the fire. And then something else caught my attention. A customer came to pick up an order. Judging by the box, it was some small order. A man came to pick it up, but I couldn't see his face because it was hidden behind a cap. Vika brought him a box. He unpacked it and fished out a small ring. Then the client and Vika had a conversation. Luckily, the camera recorded the sound too. Damn, they sent the wrong ring I ordered, the client grumbled. Did you want something specific? Vika asked curiously. Yes, I wanted to give it to my mother-in-law as a gift, but the ring is clearly smaller than her finger. But it would fit your fingers perfectly, by the way. Would you like to keep it for yourself? Oh, come on, we can't and we're forbidden. Enough for you. Take it. And mark me down that I picked up the order. Consider this my gift to you. Then the man left. Vika watched him for a long time, fingering the ring in her hands. I couldn't see what kind of ring it was or what it looked like. The camera recorded everything in black and white. But I saw clearly that Vika put the ring on. After seeing this, I started to remember. Was there a ring on Vika's left hand when we found her body? It seems there was. Or maybe not. This once again confirmed my guess. Cursed objects sometimes came. Sasha was in a coma. Vika was in the afterlife. Was this an evil fate hanging over my work or just coincidences? I still couldn't find a clear answer. But I became more careful when sorting through parcels. For example, I bought myself special silicone grips. In general, they are for taking a hot baking sheet out of the oven. But for some reason, I believed that they would save me from the pernicious influence. In addition, I began to go to church more often. I bought myself a silver chain for a cross because the old copper one was already worn out. At work, before starting to put away parcels, I always read the prayer, Our Father, and crossed myself several times a day. Was I a religious person? Absolutely not. But everything that was happening made me quite wary. So I tried to protect myself with all the good and kind forces I knew about. Do you think it helped me? It didn't help. And here we come to the main point of my letter to you. I also mentioned Vika and Sasha for a reason. In this way, I wanted to capture their memory. Let other people, even strangers to me, also know and remember them. And although Sasha is still alive, he can't be called completely healthy either. Olga Sergeevna said that if he doesn't come to his senses in a month, they'll simply disconnect him from the life support system. I wouldn't wish such a death on anyone. The following situation happened to me 2 weeks ago. It was cloudy weather. It was getting close to rain. It was the afternoon when I usually dozed off. There was one last parcel left in the warehouse. One morning there was a big influx of customers, and almost all the orders were taken, so I expected that it would be picked up closer to the evening. When the clock struck 20 ANG, a breathless man stumbled into the checkpoint. He frantically took out his phone while I calmly scanned his QR code. 7th shelf. I put on my grips and took the box from the warehouse. It was small and fit well in my hands. I placed the package in front of the client and took off my improvised protection. The man took a stationery knife and opened the package. Looking inside, he clicked his tongue and said, "This is not it. They sent me the wrong thing again. Cancel it. I will pay any amount. Just get this nastiness away from me." And he left. Just like that. This was nothing new for me. Such clients periodically came and also left. Angry, dissatisfied, upset. Here I must confess that I am the very cat whose curiosity almost killed me. I put my grip back on and picked up the box, but it treacherously slipped out of my hands, and I dropped it. A book of children's fairy tales fell out of habit, unable to even stop my instinctive behavior. I released my grip on my left hand and picked up the book with it. Suddenly my head spun, and my mouth went dry. I almost bit my tongue from the sudden pain. That's how I felt then. A childish laugh echoed in my head, and then it turned into a thunderous roar. He. Someone laughed in my head when the roar died down. Here's my victim. Finally. He. Well, shall we play? I'll slowly twist your head off, and you'll scream loudly and beg for mercy. I think that sounds very tempting. Who, you, I croaked angrily. The situation was hopeless. By God, at that moment I wanted death as never before because it was there that I hoped to find peace. Oh no, my dear. He, I won't let you go so easily. You won't escape from me until we play. He. Everything went dark before my eyes. I think I fell and curled up, hugging my knees. All I wanted was not to hear that damn voice, and its power of influence continued to grow with each passing minute. What a weak little man you are. But this will do for me. I have waited too long for the moment when I can fully enjoy someone else's pain. I realized that we were connected by this damn book of fairy tales. As much as I wanted to, I couldn't unclench my hand and throw it away. Believe it or not, help came from where I least expected it. I heard another voice. It was Vika's voice. Her words, her intonation calmed and at the same time made me fight. She warmed me, pulling me out of the abyss of darkness. Misha, resist. Fight. Don't give in to this evil, please. You are strong. You are stronger than all of us. Fight. You little devil, echoed an ominous child's voice. Your soul no longer belongs to you. Get out of here. It's my toy. Vika seemed not to pay attention to this evil that I had touched. Instead, she continued to talk to me. Unclench your hand. Trust your feelings. I will help. And indeed, I felt my left hand squeezing something. Making an effort over myself, I unclenched my fingers and immediately pressed my hand to myself. My mind suddenly let go. I took a deep breath, then exhaled, several times. My vision started to clear. I don't know how long I lay there, but it was completely dark outside. It's a good thing no one came. Otherwise, they would have branded me as some kind of drug addict. The management wouldn't have bothered to figure out what was going on. We've been there, we know. Vika's presence began to slowly evaporate. I was happy and sad at the same time. On the one hand, she saved me. On the other, it was sad to realize that I would never hear or see her again. But I was so grateful to her, as to no one else at that moment. Mr. Strange, she, like a guardian angel, came to my aid. When I finally came to my senses, I picked up the book with the scissors lying on the table and took it outside. There was a rusty barrel there where we sometimes burned all sorts of waste paper. So, without a twinge of conscience, I set it on fire with a lighter, which I always carried with me, even though I don't smoke. And finally, I said, "Burn, beast. This time you lose." Luckily, no one answered me. But the feeling of someone else's pressure began to disappear as the book burned page by page. At some point, I even exhaled deeply from relief. Whatever it was, it clearly wanted to kill me. And thank God that I got help from the outside. I couldn't have done it on my own. Having closed the point, turned off the light, I went home. That same evening, I wrote a letter of resignation, and on my next shift, I gave it to Olga Sergeevna. I had to, however, also account for the loss of the book, since the client wanted to register it as a return. But I said that I had misplaced the book and was ready to pay a fine. In the end, they deducted only 5,000 rubles, which is not much, but not a little either. Why did I want to quit? This job should be for real exorcists, not ordinary people. To hell with this job. Not only do ungrateful people come all the time, some of them even try to kill the packages. One of them will soon be in the hospital without a power supply. The second one died after accepting a ring from a stranger. Also cursed, apparently. And I was almost killed by children's fairy tales. I don't give a damn about such work. It would be better to work as a waiter, or as a cleaner, a security guard. In general, anywhere. Just not at the pickup point. I don't know. Of course, if I'm the only one who's so lucky or if anyone else has similar stories in stock. But I've clearly had enough. And what's going on with the point now? I don't know. According to rumors, Olga Sergeevna continues to support him. True, something happened to Olejik too. Either he broke his leg or something fell on him from above, some large parcel, from a shelf. Although how something could knock over a cabinet like that, I can't imagine. Did I try to tell Olga Sergeevna about what happened? I didn't even try. Her Vika died from a squirrel, having decided to commit suicide in a drunken stupor. Sasha simply couldn't cope due to health reasons and died from overwork. Oleg is a drug addict, since he had a seizure at work. In general, everything is either too black or too white for her. My story about the cursed book of fairy tales would look too pretentious and implausible. So I decided that if she was comfortable living with her eyes closed, then I was definitely not the one who should open them to her. But I did scribble a message to Oleg. I wrote it like this: "Get out of this damn place, follow my example. Otherwise you'll end up where Vika and Sasha are." He didn't answer me, but he read it. And what conclusions he made, that's on his conscience, I think. Anyway, that's the end of my, well, if not confession, then story. By the way, it will be funny if people stop trusting marketplaces after your release. After what I went through, I now only go to the store in a simple way and always with a bottle of holy water, as a talisman. I don't know, though, whether it will save me or not, but what's wrong with an angel? It's better to be safe than sorry and hear other people's childish voices in your head again. Or something even worse. In any case, I hope this letter will interest you and your viewers. Please do not stop. There is too much evil in our world, and as you can see, it is very actively seeping into the underside of reality. Let people know and be vigilant. Sincerely, Mikhail S.